We're going to call upon the youngest member of this panel, Trupti Doshi. I'm actually not going to, I think her presentation will introduce her adequately. Trupti Doshi works a lot in sustainable architecture. She's done some amazing work. Her story is pretty incredible as well. I hope she'll tell you more about it.
I was 20 years old in a humanities class in my architecture school in hometown Mumbai, when I first learned about the catastrophic levels of social and ecological devastation that happens in our country in the name of economic growth. I remember feeling so helpless on that day that the only place I could find to hide my tears was the college washroom. I remember slamming the toilet seat down and I sat on it crying. Nothing that I was pursuing made any sense, being trained as a professional architect when this continues to be the norm. Deep in my heart, I was always an unshakable optimist. I believed that the future could be different from this and it could be beautiful. But the question I was asking myself on that day was, is the future going to be beautiful because of me or in spite of me? I would consider that day to be a turning point in my life when I decided that I don't want to be on the conveyor belt. I want to be a change maker. Design innovation through artistic and scientific excellence and ecological and social sustainability form the bedrock of all the projects that I do. And today, instead of showing 10 different slides from 10 different projects, I just thought I'll tell you a short story. This was my first day on my first project straight after college. This is an illegal mud quarry in one of the most backward and alcoholic areas in rural Tamil Nadu. I was standing there alone, of course not knowing a word of Tamil, and this quarry was illegally occupied by the political goons. The idea was to build a rural development center which would be a catalyst for positive change in the entire bioregion, and that would work to bring about positive impact in the field of rural education, health, and income generation. Whilst I was standing here, I realized that I was so far removed from the comfort zone and the affluence of my life in my hometown, Bombay, that if I could do something beautiful in this challenging an environment, it could actually be done anywhere. So the idea was not to build a building, but to make the act of building a means of development. So instead of employing a contractor, I decided to personally train local unskilled alcoholic villagers from all the surrounding regions and build the entire rural development campus for them and with them. So we dug this pond at the lowest contour on the site, and with the soil that came out from this pond, we built the entire 5-acre campus by making unfired compressed earth block. And the pond, of course, in turn got converted into the reservoir for harvesting all the rain. This building is supposed to house 500 people at any given point in time, and the column-free span of the roof that you see is about 35 feet. If I were to have built the same arch using fired brick available off the shelf in the market, the thickness of this roof would have been more than my height. It would have been a 5 feet thick roof going from one end to the other, and it would have taken 10,000 bags of cement. With precise calculations, and just these handful of lines took me more than 3 months to draw, I was able to bring down the thickness of 5 feet to a mere 4 inches at the keystone. And instead of using 10,000 bags of cement, I was able to build the entire gigantic vault in, guess how many? 33 bags of cement. This also had to be a zero waste building. So we had to devise a method whereby instead of having the negative of the arch and the positive, which would be a mountain of waste at the end of the whole construction, I devised this method whereby we literally had arches flying out of the Springer beam and meeting at the center, and there wouldn't be any waste on the building site because more than 80% of the material came from the very soil on which the building stands. So for such a cutting-edge, highly engineered, modern building precise to 1 millimeter, this was the toolbox. And as I mentioned before, this was actually for me an opportunity to train more than 400 local unskilled villagers who actually didn't even know how to use a measure tape before into becoming highly skilled technicians, masons, bar benders, plumbers, electricians, bricklayers. This project has been chosen by the United Nations Environment Programme as a model for sustainable development in India for its artistic and scientific excellence and ecological and social sustainability. And all the projects that we do as part of my office, we embody these very principles. I view architecture not as a finished product to be consumed to raise the standard of living, but rather as a process, an unfolding process that can enhance the quality of life and become a means of, if I may say, accelerated evolution for the creators and, most importantly, the end users. This was coming back to what Madhvi just mentioned about women architects, and Pondicherry and the Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Kiran Bedi, actually recognizes the value of women architects. And this was an award called Woman Architect of Pondicherry. Thank you.